this is not a normal situation where someone says, that's a really good candidate for an exercise of the pardon power. This is somebody who, because of the conflicts, you would think the president really shouldn't be weighing in at all on this type of crime, because he obviously has a vested interest in it, in the same way he had a vested interest in the commutation of Roger Stone's sentence, where the judge actually said that that crime was committed on behalf of the president of the United States.
So let's just take that a little further, because when we compare this to other commutations or pardons, it's not just that the president might have had an interest, but there had been speculation for the last 4 years, and it may be all incorrect, but that there was some element of the president signaling messages to these people who had information on him that, you play the game this way, I'll take care of you later. This idea of quid pro quo. Now, you would know more about this than I would, but the fact is, the previous pardons that we talked about earlier didn't have that element. It wasn't. There couldn't. The average person couldn't look at it and say, well, maybe Trump's getting something out of this.
Sure. Well, one of the things that you can tell from the Mueller report, I detail in my book, is that the president used the dangling of pardons to thwart cooperation with the special counsel investigation. In other words, that's one aspect of his obstructive conduct. So that if you are a Roger Stone or a Paul Manafort, you can say, maybe it's better to not cooperate with the government because, I don't think I'm going to be going to jail. And in Roger Stone's case, that actually worked out. He never served a day of the sentence that a federal judge handed out to him because the president acted before he actually had to surrender in court. So that use of the pardon power is very different than what we've seen. Now, that's not in any way to say that the use of the pardon power by George Bush 1 or Bill Clinton was in every instance correct. I think that there are also ways in which the pardon power has been abused. But here, when it's part and parcel of the crimes and the conduct that the president has engaged in himself, it really is of a different nature. And I do think that it is a factor that the new attorney general is going to have to consider when they consider what should happen to Donald Trump when he is a former president, because a key issue for the new attorney general is going to be, what do you do with his obstructive conduct? Is it really okay to sweep that under the rug, or is it appropriate for him to be held to account for that?
You make a good point. Mark Rich and Bill Clinton were well connected, and George H.W. Bush was involved in Iran-Contra. So they both issued pardons to people who were involved with them. Andrew, it was good to see you. I was very excited to see you, but I was kind of excited to see your English Cocker Spaniel. I don't see any sign of him anywhere around, or her.